Madagascar, the fourth largest island on Earth. It broke away from Africa around 165 million years ago and has been developing in complete isolation ever since. But it is not only nature that makes Madagascar a breathtaking place. Right in the center of the island stands a forest made of stone. Razor-sharp limestone spires rising up to 100 meters high. Named in a way that is itself a warning. In the Malagasy language, Tsingy means a place where one cannot walk barefoot. Stay until the end. In the finale, the story of an island where a coded treasure has been sought for 300 years, and the legend of a pirate republic that may never have existed, but whose ideas changed the world. Let us begin with one of the most fascinating locations, the Tsingy Forest, a word from the Malagasy language. It can be translated in two ways, to walk on tiptoe, or a place where one cannot walk barefoot. Both translations are accurate. Anyone who tries to step here without protective footwear will regret it immediately. The Tsingy de Bemaraha is the largest stone forest on Earth. Area, more than 1,500 square kilometers. It is a labyrinth of sharp limestone spires, some reaching a height of 100 meters, true stone cathedrals. Between them, bottomless crevices, caves, and underground rivers. Viewed from above, the landscape resembles a colossal comb, its teeth jutting from the red earth. Viewed from within, the feeling is different. You are inside a gigantic underground city, its walls stretching up to the sky. Most striking of all, a significant portion of this space remains unexplored to this day. No expedition has ever managed to reach all of its sections. The Tsingy physically prevents this. The space between the spires is too narrow for passage, and the depth of the crevices makes descent impossible without specialized equipment. Scientists estimate that species may exist within it that no human has ever seen.
And there is another layer of mystery here. The Malagasy word Tsingy became the name for all such formations across the island, yet nothing like it exists anywhere in the world outside Madagascar. Why here, specifically?
A particular combination of limestone, monsoon rains, and groundwater, but no precise model that explains why only here has yet been found. If the Grand Tsingy is a gray limestone cathedral, then 50 kilometers south of Antsiranana exists its twin, only red. Tsingy Rouge, red Tsingy, was hidden from view for several centuries. In the 1950s, landslides caused by land clearance exposed formations that had been concealed underground. People discovered that beneath a layer of ordinary red soil lay an entire labyrinth of iron-rich clay earth. The color defies description. Red, orange, purple. In sunlight, the formations glow like heated metal. Unlike the limestone spires of Bemaraha, red Tsingy is composed of soft material, and this makes it even more mysterious. It is constantly changing. Old towers crumble, new ones appear. Scientists say, what you see today will look different in 10 years. The landscape lives and breathes. What is particularly intriguing, in local tradition, certain parts of red Tsingy were considered sacred and used for ritual practices. This means people knew of this place's existence long before it became officially discovered in the 20th century. Exactly what rituals took place here and why this place was chosen, documentary evidence is almost non-existent. In 2024, a paper was published in a Journal of African Archaeology that immediately became the subject of controversy. A team of researchers led by Professor Guido Schroers of the University of Bern described the results of expeditions conducted between 2020 and 2023 to Isalo, one of the most remote corners of Madagascar. 20 kilometers from the nearest road, amid the deep canyons of Jurassic sandstone, lies a place called Tani Kakaiki.
It is a vast system of niches, chambers, pools, and terraces cut into the rock, covering approximately 3 hectares. Radiocarbon dating of charcoal placed the age at the 10th to 12th centuries CE. Among the objects found, fragments of Chinese and Southeast Asian ceramics from the 11th to 14th centuries. This implies trade connections with Asia. But the greatest mystery lies in the architectural forms themselves. The niches are cut into the rock according to a particular principle: vertical, rectangular recesses with no floor, some with frames that allowed them to be closed. Scholars compared them with dakmas, the towers of silence used by Zoroastrians, the followers of this ancient Iranian religion, to expose the remains of the dead.
Did Zoroastrianism reach Madagascar? Possibly. Arab trading routes across the Indian Ocean could well have brought followers of the ancient Persian tradition here. But this is only one theory. No written sources, no names. Tanikakaiki is the most enigmatic archaeological site on the island, one the majority of the world has never once heard of. On the dusty dirt road between Morindava and Belo-sur-Siribahina stand giants. Their trunks are like gray towers, up to 3 meters in diameter, up to 30 meters in height. Their branches, thin and splayed, resemble not a crown, but roots, as if someone had torn a tree from the ground and plunged it back in upside down. That, according to Malagasy tradition, is exactly what happened. According to the legend, baobabs were once the most beautiful and proud trees in the world. But they grew so vain that they began to complain to the gods. Why were they not as tall as palms, not as bright as flame trees? The gods grew angry and tore them from the earth, planting them back, roots upward. Since then, the baobabs grow as punishment, bearing their roots at the crown instead of a canopy. A few kilometers from the avenue, 2 baobabs of a different species whose trunks have over the centuries intertwined into a single whole. They are called the baobabs of love. According to tradition, these are 2 young people from neighboring villages, each betrothed to another, but in love with each other. They asked the gods to allow them to be together, and were transformed into 2 trees that grow in contact with each other. The age of some specimens is around 2,800 years. They have outlived the rise and fall of ancient civilizations. Around them, forests were cleared, rice was planted, roads were built. The baobabs remained. Locals preserved them deliberately because they are Rinala, mothers of the forest. To cut one was to bring misfortune upon the village. In the northern part of the island, beneath a plateau of gray limestone, another world is concealed. It is called Ankarana, and what lies beneath its surface is astonishing. 120 kilometers of documented cave passages. This is the largest connected cave system in Africa. One cave alone, the Grotte d'Andrafiabe, has more than 8 kilometers of horizontal passages. Systematic exploration of the system began in the 1960s and continues to this day. What do scientists find? Underground rivers, underground lakes, stalactites and stalagmites forming entire chambers, cathedrals, as researchers call them. Blind fish that have evolved in the dark, subterranean organisms found nowhere on the surface. One of Ankarana's distinctive features is river capture. In one place, 3 separate rivers disappear one after another underground and continue to flow through cave darkness for many kilometers. Where exactly they re-emerge is not always known. In earlier eras, local rulers, the Antakarana, used these caves as refuge and as burial sites. Certain sections of the plateau are considered fady, taboo, forbidden to this day. Tourists are not admitted, nor are scientists.
According to official figures, less than 30% of the estimated total length of the cave system has been explored. 24 kilometers to the northeast of the island's capital, on a hill overlooking the entire highland plateau, stands Madagascar's oldest and best preserved royal fortress, Ambohimanga. Its history begins in the 15th and 16th centuries. Here lived, ruled and was buried Andrea Nampo-Inimirina, the great unifier of the island, the first king to succeed in uniting the warring highland clans under a single authority. But the fortress's greatest mystery lies in its walls. Literally. When the main buildings of Ambohimanga were being constructed, a particular mixture was required to bind the bricks. According to historical sources, the builders used sand, crushed shells, and 16 million egg whites. Not as a metaphor, as a real building component. Egg white creates a unique binding mixture, resistant to moisture and time. The walls still hold. Ambohimanga's main gate was closed by a disc-shaped stone weighing more than 4 tons. Every evening, it was rolled to close the fortress. The disc's diameter is 4.5 meters. Exactly how this stone was moved on a daily basis remains technically an open question. Today, Ambohimanga is the only cultural site from Madagascar on the UNESCO World Heritage List. It is considered a place of living pilgrimage. People come here to pray for love, for work, for healing. Rituals are still performed within its grounds. Madagascar is one of the few islands in the world whose traditional architecture has been inscribed on UNESCO's list of intangible heritage. But behind that dry fact lies something deeper. The entire capital of the island, Antananarivo, was built according to a system conceived by one man. King Andrianjakain, 1610, seized the hill of Analamanga and gave the city at its foot a name, Antananarivo, City of 1,000, after the number of his warriors. Later, his successor, Andrianampoini Marina, declared the 12 hills surrounding the capital to be sacred, corresponding to the number of his wives, and to the number 12, which in Malagasy cosmology symbolizes the completeness of the universe. Each hill was associated with one of 12 clans and one of 12 aspects of the spiritual world. Each year, during the Malagasy New Year, descendants of the royal lineages and astrologers, Ombiasi, gathered on the hills and took a handful of earth from the foot of the royal tombs as a talisman for the year ahead. This system continues to exist. Every year, the same ritual, the same hills, the same earth. In 1995, the Manjakamiadana Palace, the main palace on Analamanga, burned down. Shortly before the fire, the palace was due to be inscribed on the UNESCO list alongside Ambohimanga. The official cause was never fully established. The mystery remains. On a map from 1733, discovered in French archives, a small tropical island off the eastern coast of Madagascar is marked with just 2 words: Île des Pirates, Island of Pirates. Île Sainte-Marie, 60 kilometers long and no more than 10 wide, became, at the end of the 17th century, the most famous pirate haven in the Indian Ocean. Up to 1,500 pirates were based here at any one time. The ships of William Kidd, Henry Every, Thomas Tew, Olivier Levasseur, and Christopher Condent lay at anchor here. Tranquil coves, tropical supplies of food and water, complete remoteness from colonial authority. The ideal hideout. Their ships still lie here. Several were deliberately sunk right in the bay to create an underwater barrier against the naval squadrons of France and Britain. Divers and archaeologists have been working on these wrecks since the 2000s. In 2025, a team of American researchers published their conclusion. One of the identified vessels is the Nossa Senhora do Cabo, the richest Portuguese ship, captured in 1721 by the pirate Olivier Levasseur, known as La Bouze, the Buzzard. On board were gold, silver, diamonds, religious relics from Goa, and the celebrated Flaming Cross of Goa, a massive golden cross encrusted with precious stones requiring 3 men to carry. The cross has never been found. When Levasseur was caught and sentenced in 1730, he threw a sheet of paper with an encoded text into the crowd and cried, "My treasure, to whoever can solve it." The cryptogram has been the subject of attempts at decryption ever since. 300 years have passed. On the hill above the bay, the only documented pirate cemetery in the world. Around 30 tombstones, many bearing the skull and crossbones. On some, the inscriptions have been entirely erased by time. The island of pirates proved to be real, while the whole world thought it was legend. In 1724, a book was published in London under the title A General History of the Pirates. The author, a certain Captain Charles Johnson, is presumed to be a pseudonym of Daniel Defoe, who wrote Robinson Crusoe. Among the documented histories of real pirates, Blackbeard, Kidd, Tew, the book describes something entirely different. A pirate utopia on the northern tip of Madagascar called Libertalia. According to Johnson's account, a French captain named Mission founded here a free colony, without kings, without religion, without slavery. All decisions by vote, plunder divided equally, enslaved people freed from captured slave ships were brought here. They created their own language, a blend of French, English, Dutch, and Malagasy. The flag was white, in contrast to the black Jolly Roger. Did Libertalia exist? Most historians say no. Not a single other source, no ship's logs, no colonial dispatches, no Malagasy traditions, mentions Captain Mission and his colony. This is most likely a political fantasy clothed in the form of a document. But here is what intrigues scholars. The real life of pirate crews of that period remarkably resembled the described utopia. Pirate ships had written charters. The captain was elected by vote and could be removed.
Plunder was divided in fixed shares, including a share for the wounded. Runaway sailors and all who joined were offered an equality they had nowhere else in the world. The historian Marcus Rediker wrote, "The pirate ship was perhaps the most democratic workplace in the Atlantic world of the early 18th century. Libertalia may never have existed as a place, but as an idea, it was more real than many states." And one final note. When Captain Woodes Rogers arrived in Madagascar in 1714, he found there not a mighty pirate republic, but a handful of exhausted survivors living at the mercy of local chieftains. The golden age of piracy ended quickly, but the legend of Libertalia lives on. Madagascar, a place where human history took some of its boldest and still inexplicable steps, and keeps their traces in stone, in caves, in ciphers, and in legends. What if we know this place only halfway? What secrets does the island still hold? Perhaps one day, we will find out. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.